Dear students, now we shall continue the subject Strategic Management 22 MBA 25. Today we'll be discussing the fifth unit of Strategic Management, that is strategy implementation. After knowing about crafting of strategy or formulation of strategy, the formulated strategy has to be implemented. We shall understand how to implement the formulated strategy. So here, in order to implement, we need to follow certain steps. So that is through operationalizing strategy and by framing annual objectives, then by developing functional strategies and developing and communicating the concise policies, that is again by framing suitable policies, then institutionalizing the strategy, structure, leadership and culture and ethical process and corporate social responsibility. So even after the completion of the grand and long-term strategies, uh, those strategies we had discussed in the last unit. So what are those different types of strategies and grand strategies? The strategic management process is not complete. It leads to the new phase of operationalizing, institutionalizing and controlling the strategy. That is, operationalizing and institutionalizing is nothing but implementing that and later evaluating. Now let us discuss the implementation process. Implementation of strategies gives rise to three internalized concerns, that is identification of measurable, mutually determined annual objectives, then development of specific functional strategies, then communication of concise policies to guide decisions. Now let us understand what is an annual objective. Annual objectives, they translate long range aspirations into this year's budget. So that is an organization frame the objectives for a year, that we call as an annual objective, that is by fixing some budget and allocating the budget for different portfolios. And annual objectives are derived from long term objectives but differ in time frame, focus, specificity and measurement. For annual objectives to be effective in strategy implementation, it must be integrated and coordinated. So in order to make an annual objective effective, it must be integrated and coordinated and must be consistent, and any objective must be measurable, and there should be a scope for prioritizing. Here we have some example, that is the long term objective is to obtain 20% market share in 5 years. So it clarifies where the objective wants to be. So this can be achieved by identifying a set of annual objectives, that is for every year. If the present market share is 10%, it can achieve a minimum of 2% increase in relative market, so that in 5 years it can achieve a 10%. So this is about annual objective. Such annual objectives framed should possess certain qualities. The qualities of such effective annual objectives are: there should be a linkage to long-term objective, that is each annual objective should be oriented towards the long-term objective. So this annual objective is again nothing but the short-term objectives like mission. So the mission statements that generally we formulate related to the vision statements. Then time frame, it should they should be focused, then it should be specific, measurable, then integrated and coordinated objectives, then it should there should be scope for prioritizing. So now let us discuss what are the benefits of framing of such annual objectives. So any annual objective provides a tangible, meaningful focus to translate long-term objectives into specific actions. That is, effective long-term objectives become the essential link between strategic intentions and operating reality, and it provides the basis for strategic control and the motivators of managerial performance. Some functional strategies are it provides specific immediate direction to key functional areas within the business in terms of what must be done to implement the grand strategy. The functional strategies in the marketing area are the four components are product, place, promotion, price. Here we have two types of strategy, that is business strategy and functional strategy. Such functional strategies are formulated for different components like product, place, promotion, and price. So, while framing such functional strategy, again we have to compare that with the business strategy. So, here we have a comparison between business strategy and functional strategy. So, the business strategy has a time horizon, so which is more, whereas in functional strategy time horizon is less, and business strategy is less specific, the functional strategy is more specific, and business strategy is delegated by general managers, whereas this is delegated by business level managers. Here we have some examples of functional strategies in different functions, like with respect to finance department, marketing, or HR, or operational department, or procurement department. Coming to functional strategies in finance, this guide the managers in long-term capital adjustment and in debt financing, then divided allocations and capital allocation. Functional strategies in research and development. Here the industries generally they spend 4 to 6% of earnings on research and development. So that is in order to increase the market share, or to attract more number of customers, or to increase the brand image, or to add a new product in their product line, or to overcome the competitions, or to avoid the threat, or to launch a new product, so or to add any new feature, additional feature to the existing product, like that. In for different categories and situation, the company need to invest on research, and the issue is whether R&D should be centralized or decentralized. R&D strategy emphasizes product modification and then ability to copy or acquire new technology to maintain firm's position in the industry. The functional strategies in production and operation are the functional strategy must guide decisions regarding the basic nature of production and operation management system, and by seeking an optimum balance between the investment input and production operations output, and location, facilities design, and process planning on a short-term basis. The facilities and equipment component of POM strategy involves decision regarding plant location, size equipment, replacement, and facilities utilization that should be consistent with the grand strategy and other operational strategy, and purchasing function from a cost perspective. The purpose of so this is about functional strategy. The next important concept is framing of the policies. Once the strategies have been formulated, and the decision has been taken to implement the strategies at different levels, so that is at the corporate level, functional level, business level, then in order to implement that effectively, certain policies need to be again formulated. So such policies should often be referred as standard operating procedures. So irrespective of the portfolio or functional areas, they have to follow the respective policies. So the annual objectives, then the functional strategies serves as the basis for formulation of policies. The policies establish indirect control over independent action and are clear statement about how the things are and now and has to be done, and has control on decisions and the conduct of activities without direct investment by top management. Policies promote uniform handling of similar activities and facilitate coordination of work tasks and help in reducing favoritism and discrimination, ensure quicker decisions by standardizing answer, and help institutionalize basic aspect of organizational behavior, and also helps to reduce concerns in respective and day-to-day decision making, can contract resistance to or rejection of chosen standard by organization members. Here every organization will have its own policies, so that we call as annual policies or quality policies. So here we have an example of quality policy. Once such policies have been formulated, the formulated policies have to be communicated. For that, the such policies need to be developed and communicated through some mechanism or through a proper channel. So integrating mechanism for communicating the policies are, that is through a good controlling system. So the controlling system, we have different types. One is direct control, then liaison roles, task force, then teams, integrating roles and integrating departments, and then matrix. So here, by assigning different tasks and roles to each and every one, the policies can be communicated clearly. That is through a direct control, that is through sales and production, through sales and production managers, then liaison role through assistant sales and plant managers, task force through representatives from sales, production and R&D, through teams, organizational executive committee, integrating roles, assistant vice president for strategic planning, then integrating departments, corporate headquarters staff, and matrix. All roles are integrating roles. So this is about formulation, that is implementation of strategy through an effective annual objectives, then implementing strategy at different levels and through policies. Now such strategies need to be institutionalized, that is need to be spread or communicated among everyone, to all the stakeholders. So here we have to follow three different elements which provide the fundamental long-term means for institutionalizing the firm's strategy. The first one is functional structure, and the next one is divisional organizational structure and SBUs. So means any strategy can be effectively communicated through its structure. So whatever the structure the organization is following, like maybe a functional structure, matrix structure, or an horizontal structure, vertical structure, or divisional structure, it can communicate the strategy effectively. So this, as we have discussed in the first unit about the organization structure and each structure's advantage and disadvantage. So this is a revision of that. So by again effectively introspecting its structure, it can effectively communicate the formulated strategy among the stakeholders. So this is about matrix structure, the advantages and disadvantages. Then divisional structure or departmentation structure, its advantage and disadvantage. Now let us discuss the next important terminology, that is SBUs, strategic business units. So this is generally any company will have different types of SBUs here, which is been categorized and based on the hierarchy. Here in the Example, we have two different SBUs, that is SBU1 and SBU2. So as per the allotment or designed designated positions, they will be taking a call, that is SBUs under group vice president and SBU under group vice president too. No, they will be taking care of the different functional activities or divisions under their supervision. So such allotment we call as SBUs. The advantage of that is it improves coordination between divisions with similar strategic concerns, and tightens the strategic making and control of large diverse business enterprises, and facilitates a distinct and in-depth business planning at the corporate and at business levels. And also we have disadvantages of that. So this is one means of effectively communicating the formulated strategy through the structures. That it is in the beginning we discussed about it can be effectively implemented through the annual objectives, then through policies, and through different strategies at different levels, then through the SBUs, then organizational leadership. An organizational leadership or a leader also plays a vital role in communicating the effective strategy. The organization leadership is essential to effective strategy implementation, because it's a process and practice by key executives of guiding and shepherding people in an organizing towards a vision over time, and developing the organization's future. That is leadership and organization culture. So in order to have a good organization future, a good organization culture is very important, so that can be effectively carried out through a good leader. An organization structure provides the framework for strategy implementation. However, it may not be sufficient for successful execution. So here we have an example like assignment of key manager. It is Sam Watson. That is assignment or allocation of the responsibilities to CEOs. They are the good leaders who can effectively carry out the strategic communication. Such managerial assignment decisions are influenced by the changes required to implement the new strategy and the effectiveness of past organizational performance, then turnover situations, then selection blend, stability, and reorientation. The last part of the implementation of strategy is organizational culture. This is the set of important assumptions that the members of the organization share in common. Every organization has its own organizational culture. That is how culture influences organizational life. That such culture will become a strength, and also will be a weakness. So such culture has to be carefully nurtured. So to have an effective impact on the society in terms of business, sales, profit, it is possible only through a culture. A culture is a strength because the culture eases and economizes communication facilities, organizational decision making, and control, and make it the higher levels of cooperation and commitment in the organization. And it is the efficiency also increases, and scripts the and frames the and mold our expectations, and help us assign a meaning and order to stream the experience. So that's the reason culture has to be properly delineated. And the basic value, to increase the basic value, and to for the success and courage, and for the behavioral codes. Say for example, the culture of a large profit corporation is quite different than that of a hospital, which is quite different than that of an university. You can tell the culture of an organization by looking at the arrangement of the furniture, what they brag about and what members were like that. So here we have again certain aspects about culture. Culture is central and it should have a good composition system, should possess a good HR policies, then marketing strategy, client relation, accounting procedures. So then only the culture will become a strength. Otherwise, culture can also become a weakness because of bad cooperational activities and not a ineffective decision making system and ineffective control mechanism like that. So in implementing the strategy, the ethics and corporate social responsibility also plays an important role. So the organization must possess a managerial ethical practices as well as the social responsibilities, so that it can do in different ways. So that is CSR is the idea that the business has social obligations about and beyond making a profit. So this will definitely help the organization in creating a value to its stakeholders. Here we have different levels of social responsibility. What are the approaches for shaping organizational culture? So whatever we had discussed has been given as a diagram flow chart, and managing the strategy and culture relationship. So this is also the consolidated approaches of whatever we had discussed. The last part of this unit is themes for success, structure, structure, leadership, and culture in the 21st century. This is about social responsibility. Yes. So this is about implementation of crafted strategy.